November 1st, 1955. The Vietnam War starts, and it doesn't start. It starts basic. A few military advisors here and there, and some guns, some basic stuff. But then it quickly escalated. Boots on the ground, resulting in this many deaths, and it's a lot of casualties, a lot. So, what were the average person back then thinking? What was someone in Louisiana thinking, considering that was a major testing ground in the United States back then towards this war? Well, that's why I'm interviewing my grandpa, who was a protester in the Vietnam War to stop the violence from us needlessly attacking the North. This is going to be a very fun interview. I hope you enjoy.
Hello.
Hello.
So, Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
Didn't really go so well. But, okay, so why did you join the protest? What was your main reason for joining the protest against the war?
Well, I was opposed to the U.S. participating in the war, which was never approved by Congress.
It wasn't? I mean, that's what we have to do nowadays.
The law existed, but this was not considered a war, act of war.
What was considered?
More, I guess you would call it more of a police action by our army, other armed forces.
So we consider ourselves the world police?
We have been involved historically in a lot of world police actions. And nowadays it's usually done through the United Nations as a joint force.
So, that's interesting. But you're from Louisiana, so it's really important that I ask you this. What role did Louisiana especially play in military actions towards Vietnam?
Well, the major training center for the Army was in Louisiana during the Vietnam incursion. They were mostly trained at Fort Polk for fighting the battle because it was a unique battle. The terrain was quite different than most of the U.S., so that was the central location chosen to train the troops.
So, was that in more swampy areas of Louisiana?
There were swamps nearby. There were hills nearby. It wasn't mountainous, of course, but it was rolling hills around the area as well. So it provided them with a lot of different experiences.
That is very good.
And, of course, forest everywhere.
Of course. So, what are your opinions on our government's morals during the war?
Well, in the beginning, we were only sending a few advisors over there for the South Vietnamese. I don't see a problem with that. But then, I believe it was after Johnson became president, there was this thing called the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And the evidence was never really good. In the Gulf of Tonkin incident, a U.S. ship was attacked, and they said it was the North Vietnamese that did the attacking. But it was never clear, any good evidence that it really occurred that way. So, to me, it was a false excuse. And I know we have a history of having false excuses to start wars. But to me, that was our reason for joining the conflict itself, more than before we just had advisors. So now we were sending troops over there, and now they were justifying this domino theory that, okay, if Korea falls, that's the first domino, and then Vietnam falls, and there's your second domino, and pretty soon the entire Southeast Asia is going to become communist. And this had to be prevented, according to the government. So we had to stop this from happening. Same thing, in Korea.
Unlike Korea, it became a total victory for the communists.
Yeah, things did not go well. They fought in a different way than our soldiers were trained to fight. I mean, that's a whole different culture over there. It's just like in World War II, we had the Japanese attacking us, but they fought very differently than us. And at the beginning, that wasn't good. and they didn't have the same values we did. And that was true in Vietnam also. But then, I'm not saying that we were that innocent. There were incidences of us doing illegal acts of war that I considered very immoral. The My Lai incident, the best example of that, where they simply murdered a whole village full of people, lined them up and shot them, buried them in pits. No reason, it's civilians. But again, the way Vietnamese fought the war often was by infiltrating the village and having their people posed as just regular citizens, but in reality they were carrying weapons and guns. So that was, again, the excuse they used to kill these innocent people. Oh, they might have been part of the Viet Cong. So you can imagine a lot of that kind of stuff happening immorally also made me against the war, as well as just the whole moral idea of why are we over there trying to force our ways on people who have never lived this way.
What was the biggest event for you personally? Not what you search up on Google, but for you personally at the events. Like, what was the biggest thing you witnessed personally? What's the biggest thing, the most memorable thing for you?
The protests were very peaceful. Mine was on a college campus, and we got permission to hold it in what we call the quad, the central gathering point of the campus. And it was real enjoyable. We were all out there, no trouble, having a good time, but we were demonstrating that, there are people in this country who are against this war.
Looking back, what would you have done differently as well? Like, would you have done anything differently than you did?
No, I don't think so. I think I really liked the way things went. The press was around, of course, but I didn't speak with them. I might have perhaps spoken up more.
And a bit of a mini question on top of this. How do you think this differs from, say, the No Kings protests that are happening? The stuff that I have my vlogs going to.
Well, I think the most obvious difference is this was very focused on one topic. Everybody was there, and if they were there, you knew why they were there. They were there protesting the war. Now, the No Kings, it seems to me it's more like people protesting our government, the way it's working under the current administration. So their reasons for being there may vary from person to person. And here it was the administration that was particularly being focused on. In No Kings, you didn't know if they were protesting a war somewhere because we're involved in so many right now, or if they were protesting the economy, which is disastrous, or if they were protesting the taking away of health care, or I mean, you just keep going on and on, In that way, it's a different situation.
So, I'm going to wrap it up here, but it was a very good interview.
Thank you.